For me, the pandemic obviously has to be the forefront of our minds. And I think what's really exciting from a risk perspective is a couple big buckets that this means for risk management. One, we're going to go strategy, culture, and then I'm going to talk about operational risk if these are things that are really hitting me. From a strategy perspective, with the pandemic, there are a lot of transitional changes. There could also be structural changes. And so there is a lot going on right now for us to really understand how this could impact our future business and strategic outlook. So strategic risk, really very exciting. And the other big thing is around in this pandemic space, culture with these new ways of working. And there's some really big pieces to this. There's things around mental health, because we're going through a pandemic and we have this really interesting dynamic of, in some cases, being overloaded, too much to do, but in other cases, nothing. And that has its own stresses and anxieties, and it has obliterated for many the divide between work and home and those boundaries. And what does that mean? There's a whole world here on employee expectations and skills. And that's really interesting from an HR perspective, because as we have moved through the pandemic, what are employees going to want and what are employers going to need from a skills perspective? So there's another big set of risks. And the other big set of risks I see here in this culture is around risk and innovation. So what is the right culture? What does the culture need to be to support risk and innovation? And how does this new transition into probably more working from home going to affect that culture to really enable it? And so strategy, culture, and then operational risks. Because what's really interesting about the pandemic, I mean, these things were already happening, everything I've already talked about, but the pandemic kind of moved things forward. Things, the digitization, operational risks like cyber, which is right on the forefront, but now with more people working from home, it just makes it that much more important. And third-party risks is another place where, from an operational risk perspective, it's obsessing me quite a bit. So when I kind of think about the current environment, those are the range of risks that really, really have me fixated right now.